He was the greatest sage and swordsman in his past lives. In this life, he just wanted to relax, pretending to be an incompetent prince. But fate decided otherwise. He was exiled and sent to rule a dangerous region. Trying to hide his power, he accidentally becomes a hero to the locals. Now the whole world learns about his hidden abilities. Will he finally be able to live in peace? Let's find out. This story began with the 7th Prince Noah living in the kingdom of Geda Nerga. On his 15th birthday, his skills were assessed and he was found to be incompetent, and this was a disgrace for a member of the royal family. His father was very angry and pointed his finger at the door, shouting that he was depriving him of his right to the throne. Let him get out immediately. The protagonist wondered how he could have done it. Later, he was very happy about this and thanked his father. Pleased with this situation, he thought that he had been looking forward to this. Surprised by this answer, his father asked, "Gratitude?" and continued. He would not even ask why he was being kicked out. MC, scratching his head, assumed that it was because of his incompetence. His father replied that it was. The main thing was that he understood. And continued, in his father's assessment, he had absolutely no abilities. In their country, all heirs are equal contenders for the throne, so everyone undergoes the same training. Even without special abilities, one can become a king. Pointing his finger at Noah, he continued, but he has neither the ability nor the desire to become a king. However, his exile may cause unwanted gossip about his country. Therefore, he will grant him the province of Carter. From the outside, it will look like he was sent there to become a lord or whatever. Will he be okay with that? The protagonist replied with gratitude in a satisfied voice. What does this even mean? Then a loud scream was heard. Noah. It was the 6th Prince Dag, the holy sword carrier skill. He grabbed MC by the shirt and shouted menacingly, "What is he even thinking? Does he not care about the throne at all? He was exiled, deprived of his inheritance rights. Where did such calm come from?" Meanwhile, Noah was thinking, that's what he wanted to get kicked out. He will just wait until he finishes. The protagonist was in a great mood and continued to think, how shameful, and he wanted to become a king so much. Prince Duck was getting more and more angry. Thinking that he was getting on his nerves, he swung his sword and shouted, "Hey, idiot!" Father thought that one crown prince trying to deal with another in front of the reigning monarch was even worse. Prince Duck, swinging his sword, shouted for him to die. And he swung his sword, but missed. The sword broke from the blow. He thought in surprise, damn. In surprise, he jumped back, scratching the back of his head. He thought he scared him. He didn't even notice. Duck missed on purpose. People in the kingdom were wondering what happened. Prince Duck missed. What happened? Is this not a joke? MC said to his familiar Rory, they should go. As the heroes went their separate ways, Noah said, hiding a skill, or, since his sword moved faster than sound, the sword, which is stronger than dragon scales, broke from a light blow, or it only looked like that. And then Duck realized and shouted, so that's the reason. Hey Noah. The main character waved goodbye and shouted that they would see each other in 5 years. He promised to have a good rest in his lands. Light appeared, and a portal opened, which Noah entered. Father shouted in surprise. What kind of light was this? Duck also continued to shout loudly for him to wait for him. Disappearing, the main character shouted until he disappeared. Father thought, teleportation magic, only sages can use it. Or is it not such an ancient magic? The servant said, it was worth foreseeing such an outcome. And at this time, somewhere far away, a carriage was driving, in which Noah was sitting and reading a book. He looked at Rory and asked if she had forgotten about his chick plans. She also asked, is it true that he was deprived of the right to the throne? And continued that she remembered. Pleased with himself, the main character shared that losing the right to the throne, being exiled to a god-forsaken land where no one even knows his name, all this was part of his plan. He raised his hand up and shouted with joy, he can finally live the way he wants. The plan worked. Rory looked at the protagonist and thought, again, he is so happy about the stigma of mediocrity. In his past life, he was a holy sword, and in another, a sage. A living legend, a twice reincarnated hero. In fact, he is very far from the concept of incompetent. Rory wondered how the third life of a hero could turn into this. The protagonist answered, she should listen carefully, Rory. He really was reborn twice. He was a hero twice, but suddenly grabbed his head with his hands and shouted, being a sword master is just wildly infuriating. His whole life revolves around his family. He is constantly burdened with useless things. They attracted unnecessary attention and negativity. And when monsters appear, they always send him to sort it out. And he lived his life as a hero twice. He continued to shout, work is nonsense. So this time he was reborn in a peaceful country as a prince, and ascending to the throne promised only another headache. So he decided to get out of this race for power, pretending that he was simply incapable of anything. Allegedly, he was talentless in magic, could not properly lift a sword, his head was empty, incompetent. Even during the certification, he changed the grade with the help of magic to make him look talentless. Rory got angry and said, he really is like that. MC replied, Rory, no need to hate him for this. Now she's in cat form, so everything will be fine. The carriage shook violently, voices were heard. What? Rory screamed. Huh? Everything inside the carriage started spinning. He thought, a meteorite or a boulder from a volcano. Rory screamed. Noah, if they are attacked, this must be discussed in advance. The protagonist said that he warned her and that she was going crazy. Rory screamed, that's not it, he's the only crazy one here. He parried the attack with inhuman speed. He used ultimate magic. MC replied that she shouldn't talk nonsense. Back when he was a swordmaster, even a child could attack with such magic. But that's in the past. Rory asked in surprise, what were those sounds? Were those footsteps? They both looked up. Above the trees to the sky, a giant turtle head appeared there. Rory screamed, a volcanic turtle? Isn't that an S-rank monster? The protagonist asked, were you scared? She was a demon herself. Rory continued screaming. He sealed her powers. Speaking of which, Rory's true form was sealed in the archives. He locked it there when he was a child. She was angry. Now was not the time to remember that. Noah, what should they do? The rival is an S-rank monster. The protagonist noticed, isn't that wonderful? S-rank breasts? What did he say? The giant turtle continued to move forward, breaking everything in its path. Rory waved her arms and screamed, it's going to fall here now. Noah, the creator's magic, the blade. He spun, energy soared around him. He took out the blade. It whistled, cutting the air. From the impact, he was showered with stones. Rory screamed, crumbled from one swing. The protagonist scratched the back of his head and said that he broke it. So yes. She continued, it's impossible. He noted that when he was a sword master, even an average adventurer was able to deal with such a turtle. Rory screamed, stop considering the life of a swordmaster to quality standards. They live in a completely different time now. MC asked, the turtle roar is getting on the nerves of the whole area. You know? Turtle? What kind of language is that? The protagonist told it to disappear and attacked again, releasing a fireball, and the turtle died. Rory said in fear, maybe this is some new level of magic, the highest rank magic? Noah pointed and said, huh? It's not like that, just an ordinary fireball. He looked at the carriage and said, oh, the carriage is broken. Only now he thought that it would be much easier to fly, and flew up into the clouds. Rory looked into the sky at the disappearing protagonist and shouted, and why did he leave her? Noah, he's too gifted. Taking off, the protagonist thought it felt like he forgot something. He landed and saw her. Leaf, folding her arms across her chest, asked, did he save her? Looking at him into the distance, she continued, he is like an ancient hero. Burnout. Carter Province, Ain Village. She said, the monsters are rampaging again. The servant replied that she should not worry, Lista. This place is protected by the magical barrier of an ancient hero. It protects them. In ancient times, when the ancient hero traveled through this place, he left a protective barrier here. That is why the elders are sure that there is no need to worry. But this city borders an unknown forest, a dangerous place that carries great risks. Lista asked, but the barrier is so ancient, will everything be okay? One of the city's residents, pointing his finger at the sky, shouted, hey. He asked them to look. A huge turtle appeared. The people shouted, a volcanic turtle. It's an S-rank monster. A blizzard arose in the city. Everything was spinning. Lista said in fear, it can't be. The protective barrier is collapsing. The people, running in different directions, said, they are doomed without a barrier. But what about the residents? They would all become food for the monster. She turned and ran in the other direction. People shouted after her. Lista? What was she? She would hold off the monster. She ran and thought, if she just ran, she would soon be caught. But what if this is a chance to take it away from the village? Suddenly she fell and saw a carriage nearby. Strangers in such a place. She screamed, people in a carriage. She asked them to run away. It all happened in an instant. Clenching her fist, Lista said in surprise, did he save her? When she saw Noah, whom she saw for the first time, he seemed to have stepped out of the pages of a children's fairy tale about ancient heroes. She shouted after him to wait, and at that time, Rory was sitting on the ground and shouting, Noah, why did he leave her? What's the point? She'll have to turn into a flying form to catch up with him. It's been a long time since she took on other forms than human and cat. The residence of the Lord of the Province of Carter. Seeing the castle, Noah was happy. Cool. A mansion in the wilderness. You can't think of a better place for exile. No one would think of getting into such a remote place. Yes, Rory? He turned and did not see her nearby, began to call, Rory? And suddenly he thought he forgot something. Could it really be her? No way, Rory. A bird flew at him, grabbing his hands. The protagonist said so, not bad. It shouted, no bad, how could he abandon his familiar? Fool, didn't even notice that she was gone. Noah looked at the bird in surprise and asked, who is she anyway? The bird barked, Rory. MC replied, until he sees her breasts, he won't believe it. She screamed. He only remembered her chest. Because he abandoned her, she had to fly here in her true form. The protagonist said he hadn't seen her for a long time. Rory continued, abandon such an important assistant. She never won't forgive him for today. She'll kill him. He asked who she was going to kill. Rory screamed that she would think about her behavior. He replied, yeah, she catches on quickly. Tears flowed from her eyes and she thought, but he's a fool. It was scary. Lista appeared and said, "This is simply amazing. Just think, one look was enough to calm the dragon." Noah was surprised and asked, "Who is she?" She introduced herself, Lista from the village of Ain. She thanked for saving them. Their village was attacked by a volcanic turtle, but he showed up and saved them. He asked, "Saved?" He thought for a moment and told her to wait. That means. Lista threw herself on his neck and thanked him for saving the villagers from the monster. A new hero who tamed the dragon. His thoughts began to get confused. Oh, so soft. And how sweet she smelled. Stop. No. Why did she mistake him for the new local hero? They had discussed this with her while they were flying. And besides, the village of Ain belongs to the province of Carter. So, it clicked in Noah's head. He grabbed his head and said, his powers were revealed on the very first day. Well done. He then fell to his knees and thought, oh no, his perfect plan. He exploded. Rory, what did she do? Everything was going great up until this moment. And now she dragged this girl here, and the fact that he was a genius was no longer a secret. Rory was making excuses. Noah, she seemed to have said it before, but people have known for a long time that he is gifted. MC asked, what? Rory continued, not noticing it. He had already done many things that demonstrated this to others. Like when a whole flock of monsters attacked the capital, and he killed because it prevented him from sleeping. I remember he used stealth magic then. Apparently he was not fully awake, so the magic did not work, and all the knights saw how he dealt with those monsters. This is just one of many feats. Although both the king and his stupid brother still did not understand, he wondered if he was like them. Lista extended her hands to him and said, just think, what a wonderful person is here in Carter Province. Welcome, new hero. She greeted him with all her heart. He sighed and said, Lista, he doesn't really know how to do anything. She specified, what amazing modesty for such an amazing person, as expected of him. Holding his head, he thought, so his plan for a carefree life was shattered. How did it all come to this? He needed to pretend to be useless so that he would be kicked out of the castle and sent to the camp area in exile. Then he heard a voice, Mr. Noah. She finished cleaning. Protagonist thanked her, although he did not ask, and sadly thought, he used his abilities in front of the first local woman he met. He wanted her to go to the village and asked, she was from the village, right? What did she forget here? Isn't it time to go back? To which she answered, no. From today on, she will serve Mr. Noah. She is returning the debt for saving her life. She asked him to order anything. After thinking, she added, except for night errands. At least until they move to a new level of relationship. He said okay. To be honest, she even scares him. He continued, she doesn't have to try so hard. Lista replied, I understand. As the lord of this land, he intends to make every resident happy. No need to work so hard. That's what it means. He didn't understand how she even came to this conclusion. He kept thinking, and this is only one person who knows about his powers, but the standards for a local lord are quite high. Wait a minute, only Lista knows about his powers. No matter how much she tells about them, no one will believe her. The servants from the previous lord are still in the mansion. First of all, he will show them his own worthlessness. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The protagonist told him to come in. The butler entered and bowed. The head butler of the Carter domain, Sebastian, at his service. He would like to greet the new master. It dawned on him, the butler. He is in charge of all the servants. How timely. Time to make him look bad. And he asked, grandfather, any questions? The butler whispered, well, the rumors weren't lying. He really was a rude guy and an idiot. Noah's inner voice rejoiced, straight from the nastiness. Cool. The protagonist decided that he would continue in the same vein. The butler continued. The gossip about him had already reached here. An incompetent fool prince, a mistake of the royal family. And also, the protagonist thought, here it is, this old man simply hated him. His savior has finally appeared. MC continued, this way he can remain incompetent in the eyes of others. Lista said menacingly, Mr. Sebastian, this is rude. And continued, Mr. Noah is an amazing man. He saved not only her but the whole village from the volcanic turtle. The protagonist thought that she would shut up. Sebastian answered, a volcanic turtle? Who would believe that? This fool at least something as the master of this land? Sebastian's answer pleased Noah very much, and he thought, excellent, as expected of a butler. He said it loudly for everyone to listen to him. The only person he will accept as a master is the previous lord, Munou Carter. MC thought that sounded very irresponsible. Lista clenched her fists and was indignant. Lord Noah, is this normal? Keeping such a person near him? He replied, everything is fine. If there is something they don't like, they can return to the village. The butler stood there with his eyes narrowed, and Noah said, it's only natural that he doesn't like him. First of all, he can't trust such a vast territory to a youngster like him, right? He replied, everything is correct. The butler wants to kick him out of the Carter territory. He just needs a reason, and he is so useless, if so. The protagonist hurried to hug and thank Sebastian. The butler was very surprised and shouted, what? He was pleased with himself and said that he could learn self-government for the sake of the Carter lands. It doesn't matter how many times he hits him. For this butler, he will give it his all. Thanks to him, he can show his complete uselessness to all the other workers. all for the sake of his reputation. The butler was happy. He accepted him despite such disrespect and recognized him as his confidant. What is this? He is one of the royal judges? No, he is nothing more than a useless prince. He said so that they would not misunderstand him. He has no reason to hang out with anyone but him, turned around and walked towards the exit. Rory lay on the floor and thought, what an exhaustive dialogue, and for no reason at all. Meanwhile, the demons were talking outside. Have you heard about the new owner of these lands? Yes, it seems he is a real idiot. The previous lord was the same. Looks like they only send trash here. Then we should continue. Nothing will stop their plans. Yes, he thought he should thank the prince. They would make the human world their own. A crisis was coming for the irresponsible prince. And in the castle, the butler gathered all the servants and told them to listen, and introduced them to the master, Lord Noah Carter, the new owner of these lands. The protagonist sat naked on the throne and said, the incompetent Prince Noah is at their service and hopes for their fruitful work together. Lista whispered, and what just happened? He doesn't know, but it seems quite incompetent. The servants whispered, so the useless prince wasn't just a rumor? Sebastian covered his face with his hand and thought, since this was a greeting, what would happen next? Damn prince. Noah went out onto the balcony and thought, great, he can really feel how he is not accepted. Sebastian loudly told him to get dressed. Uncle Sebastian, thanks for his sincere disgust. Thanks to him, rumors about this will spread everywhere. Lista asked, and what to do now? The protagonist answered, he wants to look even more of an idiot, this time dressed. He got dressed, went out to the servants and shouted for them to listen. From today they are having a staff reshuffle. The servants were surprised among themselves. A reshuffle? He means dismissal? The butler asked what he was planning. The protagonist's mind flashed. Dismissal of talented workers. Absolutely irresponsible. Rory asked, he wasn't planning something idiotic again, was he? Even if so, how will he understand who of them is talented and who is not? He thought about it and said that he would simply point to those in the front rows. He began to point his finger at the servants and say, he, and perhaps he, continued. Those he pointed to are fired. The servants asked in surprise, what? Sebastian couldn't stand it any longer and said, stop fooling around. They are the most talented employees and have been working here longer than anyone else. MC said, pleased with himself, oh, what a pity. He wanted to do everything his own way. How good he is. He just fired people for no reason. Just like the most irresponsible person in the world, the servants suddenly began to change their appearance and turned into demons. One of them shouted, how did he know? The butler was surprised. What? He repeated. How did he know that they were demons? Sebastian continued, demons? How dare they pretend to be employees? The demon kept asking how he exposed them, the new lord. Noah said that in order to recognize the presence of a demon, it is enough to detect at least a drop of their magic. He was surprised. What did he feel at first sight? The protagonist said, wait a second, are demon servants bad? The butler replied that he was saying such things. Demons are the enemies of humanity. Every child knows that. He turned to Rory and asked, is this true? She replied that it was. Unlike his previous life. He got angry and said why he didn't know. Rory replied because he skipped all the classes in the castle. The protagonist grabbed his head and said that he only fired the employees with the highest magical potential, who knew that this would turn into trouble. Damn. Then Lista appeared, looked at the protagonist with loving eyes and asked Noah, is everything okay? It doesn't mean that he is also a lord, able to recognize a demon at first sight, right? They stood near the castle. One of them spoke, as expected of Mr. Noah. The demon was angry. Their plan to destroy humanity was so stupidly thwarted because of some fool? He raised his hands to the sky and shouted, impossible. He wants to kill them. Kill every single one of them. Let the massacre begin. Noah replied, friend, it was his mistake. There is no need to be so nervous. He takes back his words about quitting. The demon was noticeably nervous, this guy, since he's been here. No, wait. How heavy is this? He can't move. He extended his hand to the demon and said that he wanted to live in harmony. From now on, okay? The demon was frightened by his terrible face and thought it was time to leave, after which, with a scream, he broke through the wall of the castle and jumped out of it. MC ran after him and shouted, why is he running away? Rory also ran to catch up and said, yes, he was scared of him. How can he not see? Meanwhile, the servants were whispering among themselves, found demons, almost tore them to shreds, it can't be. As expected from Mr. Noah. The servants picked up the protagonist in their arms and began to toss him, enthusiastically shouting that they would serve him. The Carter lands will prosper in his hands. Rory congratulated him, said that now he has even more followers. Approaching the crowd, Sebastian shouted, hey, they have to stop. It turned out that their old workers were demons, and even the former master did not recognize them as spies from the demon world. Trying to free himself from the servants, the protagonist asked Sebastian not to say that he too. He said Noah, then pointed his index finger at the protagonist, continued, he must not even think that he was finished with him here. MC was very happy and screamed, he can continue like this. He loves him and wanted to hug him. Butler tried to run away from him and screamed, "What? Let him not come near, fool. It will be a difficult path." A little later, Noah was sitting in a chair, reading a book and asked, "A barrier over the village?" Leaf was bringing her things into the castle and answered, "Yes. She went to the village for things around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it seems that the destruction of the barrier worries them very much." MC said in surprise, "For things? She is really moving here for good." Rory added, but she didn't really ask. The protagonist thoughtfully said, "A barrier over the village. Well, I didn't know there was something like that here." Sebastian was indignant, as expected from a talentless prince. It was bold to think that he at least learned something about the possessions he received. The protagonist hugged the butler and thanked him for coming to remind him of his worthlessness. The butler tried to break away from the protagonist's embrace and said, "Why is he so friendly to him?" Sebastian is a person who knows the Carter territory well. He showed Noah's land on the map and explained that Carter's lands were located on the border of a dangerous forest called the Abyss Forest. The barrier around the village allowed the villagers to live there in peace. MC reasoned why they would live in such a dangerous place. He continued, "As long as they lived under the protection of the ancient hero's barrier, everything was fine, but it suddenly began to crumble, unfortunately. If this continues, the village of Ain will cease to exist." Leafing through the book, he said, "Ancient hero, no matter how strong the barrier is, if it is not supported by magic, it will eventually collapse. Over time, it will simply outlive itself." They were surprised and spoke as expected of Mr. Noah. He understood so quickly what happened to the barrier of the ancient hero, even the court magicians could not figure it out. Rory laughed. He did it again. The protagonist was angry and roared. "But magic is easy." She continued, "Why doesn't he just accept that the future is a natural continuation of his past?" The village of Ain. The villagers asked, "Is this man the new master?" He answered, "Pleased to meet you," and introduced himself. He is the incompetent prince of their kingdom, Noah Carter. After inspecting the area, he asked, "So this is the barrier?" The people answered, "Yes." They knew that there were cracks in it before, but due to the attack of the volcanic turtle, part of the barrier was destroyed, and the inhabitants could only watch, because they always relied on this to survive. He raised his hand to his chest and promised that they could trust him with this. He swore on his blood that he would restore the barrier. Rory asked, scared, what was he thinking? He wanted to be known as a loser, and now he was taking on such a responsibility as fixing the barrier. He answered, everything was so thought out. He said it so confidently that now he could easily screw up, right? He couldn't live up to their expectations. He would immediately fall in their eyes. Rory wondered how he was going to screw up. MC told her to watch carefully. It was worth putting in just a drop of his power. Noah said if they were worried about the broken barrier, he stretched his hand forward, then he would get rid of it completely. A clot of power formed in his hand. He threw it and everything around spun around like a whirlwind, breaking everything in its path. People were screaming, "The barrier! Is it broken?" The protagonist, pleased with himself, said he thought he could fix it. People were indignant. No way. What will they do without the barrier? Some people live here for generations. Is he really a problem prince? He thought, forgive me, but he needed to demonstrate his complete incompetence. He understood. Bad. He will install a new one later. Lista wanted to help and said, wait, this is just a misunderstanding. Suddenly she said something unexpected to her. It was done on purpose. People were surprised and repeated, on purpose, and went forward. She blocked the road and said, Lord Noah said the following, you shouldn't rely on the barrier of old heroes. MC called out to her and continued, he's here now, and from now on, Noah Carter will hold back the monsters. The villagers were surprised. What? The protagonist said, no, they should wait. They said, the new lord will rid them of the monsters. He wouldn't break the barrier just like that. Right. What a wonderful lord. They approached him and shouted, Lord Noah. He said, stop. What's wrong with this village? Rory said, it seems like he just became an object of faith. Whatever he does, it all leads to this. He exploded. It can't be that everything is going so stupidly. A little later, a villager pointed into the distance and said, look. MC asked, what? Many monsters were coming out of the forest. Lista screamed, a whole crowd of monsters. People were frightened and asked how they found out so quickly that the barrier was no longer there. All attention, expectations, hopes were directed at Noah. People were shouting, Mr. Noah. He ran. Rory tried to stop him and shouted, what's going on in his head? Noah? He replied, it doesn't matter what he tells the residents. He will run straight into the crowd of monsters to allow himself to be defeated. Finding himself in the crowd of monsters, he swung and began to strike. They ran away in fear. The protagonist was surprised. People approached him and enthusiastically said, who would have thought that he rushed at the monsters with such pressure that they ran away in fear? As expected from Mr. Noah. Rory said, well, I understand. Breaking the barrier, he used more force than usual, right? He replied, well, if only a little. Monsters are quite sensitive to magical energy, so they could feel the traces. But for monsters, he is extremely dangerous with a huge amount of mana, so they ran away. Lista said, the scared monsters will never return to the village. He replied that instead of restoring the barrier, he took it upon himself to drive away all the monsters. She stretched out her hands to the villagers and said, they should see, this is the power of Mr. Noah. The people spoke with admiration, their new lord, their savior, such a wonderful person. Mr. Noah. Lista pointed her hands towards the protagonist and praised him, saying that they will follow him until death. The crowd shouted, praise your new lord. MC was unhappy with this and covered his face with his hands. Rory, who was sitting on his shoulder, said that he now has no one to hate him. At the same time, in the kingdom of Gaita-Nurga, a servant came to bow to the king and said, the commander of the knights, Taita, resigned, and this is a few days after the departure of the court magician. The knights and magicians are gradually resigning. Each of them says the same thing. There is no point in serving in a palace where there is no Lord Noah. Something like that, and His Majesty, wouldn't it be better to bring Prince Noah back? The king was furious, stood up and shouted, he claims that his decision was wrong. This guy is absolutely incompetent. He sent him to hell. There is no way he was wrong. And sometime later a beautiful girl came into the castle, said, His Majesty, and went to the king. He said in surprise, and who is this? A lady from the great ducal family of Saradea von Graham. The king apologized for showing such an unflattering side and asked what she wanted. Lady Saradea? The meeting to discuss the wedding was still some time away, wasn't it? She said that she wanted to break off the engagement. The king was surprised and said, Lady Saradea, but why? The Graham family is one of the great ducal dynasties. He's trying to keep them close to the royal family for as long as possible, she said. But she was engaged to Prince Noah. The king said he banished him. But if it was about her, why shouldn't she marry Prince Dag? She said she didn't want to. The king was furious and said, she didn't want to? She said she had agreed to the engagement to Prince Noah. Right now he was banished from the kingdom, so she had no reason to keep it. She turned around and wanted to leave, but she heard someone calling her. He continued, Saradea, she must wait. Breaking off the engagement is a lie, right? She replied that her heart remains true to Noah, and she does not wish to devote herself to him. He kept asking her to wait and think it over. Of the heiresses of the ducal houses, Saradea was the best match. He had never had a girlfriend, and Noah was standing in his way with this engagement. But now, he could finally. He came closer to her and held out his hand. She said that she would not let a useless fool like him lay a finger on her. It would be better to cut her throat and die than to marry him, and she walked away. He held his head and wondered why everyone kept talking about Noah. What was so special about Noah? She told him at last that he did not understand, and therefore he was a fool. They were upset. Meanwhile, the protagonist was running away from the crowd and wondering how it had come to this. Later, he was thinking, damn, why does everything in the world have a hidden meaning? She asked him why he didn't just give up. His so-called acts of irresponsibility always ended with him getting the title of #1 in everything. He had discovered spies among the staff of the mansion, and all the monsters ran away when they saw him. He shouted, why? She said because he was an idiot. First of all, it would be enough to just say he was ignorant, right? He said, well, that was the third option. She thought she couldn't figure out what was going on in his head. MC said instead of the guy who immediately announced that he can't do anything, he wanted to be the guy who said he can do anything. Easy peasy and then screwed up. She said if that was the case, then everything he did about it was a bit. Rory picked up a piece of paper and asked what it was. He replied, some nonsense. Sebastian left. She continued, she would look into it, the village reconstruction project. They wanted to restore everything that the monsters had destroyed after the barrier collapsed, but they lacked the manpower to handle it. Wouldn't it be enough if he used repair magic? He replied. She was crazy. If he restored everything himself, the workload would increase exponentially. She said, lazy as always. He continued, but if there was even one person who didn't like the lack of work, he could take advantage of it. He needed to get out, Rory. She asked, was he going to take on this request? He smirked. It was a secret. She thought she had a bad feeling about this. After a while, they were riding in a carriage. Rory said, it seemed that the restoration of the city was running into a shortage of workers. It would be enough to hire workers from a private guild to solve the problem. It seemed that way. But the Carter lands didn't have that much money. She continued, is it even possible to gather people without magic and money? He wasn't going to use repair magic yet? Don't want to go back to the capital and ask for help? The protagonist said that if he hired someone from the capital, it would only raise his reputation. She asked then, what was he going to do? He answered, exactly about that. Then bandits appeared and decided to attack them. Rory asked why the cart had stopped. She would look outside. As soon as she got out of the cart, some bandit put a knife to her throat and threateningly told her not to move. The bandits tied them up and said that they were well dressed. It seemed that they could get some money today. Rory got nervous. Noah, what should they do? He replied that these guys had fallen for her so quickly, how easy it was. She said, "Noah, don't tell her." He said that they would take them with them to do all the work for them in the most terrible way. Rory was surprised. The leader shouted, "What did he say?" They smirked. The leader, "What else?" One of them said, "This girl is so beautiful." They got angry and shouted, "What a bastard he is. Bloody aristocrat. He must have bought this girl for a lot of money." Yes, it couldn't be otherwise. The bandits approached them and waving their arms, shouting, "They will take all the valuables and her with them." Rory screamed, "Noah, what should she do? She will now take her real form and kill them all to hell." The bandit told her to sit still. They left her alive. The protagonist flicked the bandit on the forehead, and he flew away, then picked her up and they rose up. Noah said they were idiots. What were they planning on doing with Rory after they took her? She said, "Noah, they were idiots." He continued, "They were going to drag his Rory away and do all sorts of horrible things?" Rory got mad and said, "But why are there only idiots around her?" He turned to the bandits and said, "Well, that's the end of the show." If they didn't want to die, he advised them to keep quiet. She added, "Usually the bandits themselves say that." But they continued to move towards them and shouted, "They will not retreat after that." A fight broke out. He managed to tie them up with their own rope. They were surprised. "Who is he?" Sebastian looked out the castle window and wondered, "What is this?" In the courtyard of the castle, the bandits were sitting on the ground tied up and shaking with fear. Noah was standing nearby and saying, "They needed workers to rebuild the village, right? Their wonderful master brought several of them. They will do anything, moreover, absolutely free of charge." The protagonist said that he entrusts the process of rebuilding the village to these people. Sebastian was surprised. What? Taking such uncontrollable people as workers and entrusting them with the restoration of an entire village is unthinkable. They don't even know how they will behave. MC said, "Hey, Sebastian, does he want to refuse the workers he picked? He believes that they can do everything right." Rory asked, "Master Noah," but he thought he had done everything right and thought he believed these guys would help him lower his reputation. The bandits were very touched by this faith. They cried and said what a wonderful person he was. Give bandits like them a chance. "Master." They didn't become bandits out of their own free will. They lost their jobs and families. They were driven out from everywhere. There was no money for food. The chief bandit thanked him and said, "The chairman of the private guild Panther accepts his request." Rory and Noah were surprised, and he was indignant. What did he just say? Are these guys big shots? Sebastian said thoughtfully, now that he thought about it, he had heard of highly skilled workers from the private guild arrested because of one corrupt duke. Master Noah? Maybe he knew who they were? He replied that he did not know. The leader shouted, "Guys, they must put down their knives and take up a hammer and nails. This is their first decent job." The protagonist grabbed his head with his hands and screamed, "Oh shit." The butler thought for a moment and said that he had dealt with the bandits and found workers at once. "No, stop. There are plenty of other problems in these mountains." That's right, he can't deal with them that easily. Then the castle gates opened and a carriage drove in. The protagonist was surprised and said, "What?" A voice came from the carriage, apologizing for the unscheduled visit and saying that they had come to help him. Noah was surprised that they were here. Where were they from? They got out of the carriage, and he saw the commander of the Royal Knights Squad, Teta, the instructor of the court magicians unit Riza, and Saraday's fiancée. They said, "Long time no see, Noah. Those who are eager to get down to business have arrived." Noah asked, "Where are they from?" Rory asked, "Master Noah, who are these people?" He replied, "They are acquaintances from the royal palace." Teta said, "It is a great honor for her to meet him again, Master Noah. She heard that he helps the locals suffering from monsters, a true master of his lands. She admires his spirit. The night Teta dedicates his power to him." He was angry and said, "How did the conversation go down this path?" Riza said, "Long time no see, partner, mistress of shadows, Riza at his service." He shouted, "What was she doing in such a forgotten place? She didn't like the countryside, did she? Since Noah was here, she was brought here by the god of shadows to serve her soulmate." Rory noticed, a knight with muscles instead of brains, and a witch obsessed with him. It seems the number of problematic people is only increasing. Saradaya said that she met them on the way here, thought that such strong people could be useful to him, and took them with her. "Long time no see, Noah," MC replied. "Long time and thought. So that's who's to blame." She continued, "Familiar, so it's because they did not have time to get married and devote their lives to each other?" Lista was furious and shouted, "Get married?" Sebastian reasoned, "Lady Saradaya, the heiress of one of the most influential ducal houses in the country, the strongest and most famous knight among the people, instructor of court magicians on the lands of Carter?" Lista clarified, as expected for Mr. Noah, to attract such influential people to their side. The protagonist said, "Why?" Rory replied that she thought the idea of the master was beginning to take hold better than anyone else. He shouted loudly, "Guys, they must go home. This is not a place where the Hertzian daughter or other famous people should be." Rory said, "And the prince is talking about this?" Theta said, so they can't leave. They want to be useful to him. Reza added, as long as he is their idol, they will be by his side. Saradea said that she, the Night Lady, and the Mage Lady are in solidarity with this, so they came together to help him. Rory asked, here's another character with pumped-up charisma. What will he do, Noah? He said, if so, then it's high time for a duel. Rory screamed, what the hell, a duel? Why would he need this? No matter what happens, these guys will still stay here. The protagonist said contentedly, so they will change the plan. He will show how talentless he really is. Rory said seriously, his life teaches nothing. He explained that if he loses the duel, they will quickly lose interest, and the locals' requests will immediately come to naught. They will see how talented his rivals are, and not him. Understand? Rory asked, but could these two hurt him, physically or mentally? He replied, well, it would be quite difficult for them. So he decided to introduce some rules. 2 hours later, the villagers were discussing. Mr. Noah was going to compete with the court magician and the commander of the Royal Knights. 2 against 1, huh? It seems unfair. They gathered pretty quickly. Noah was surprised. Don't they have anything better to do? Saradea said that she would be the judge. It was a great honor for her, Saradea von Graham, to hold this role. The rules are simple. The participants will have to hunt monsters in an unknown forest. After the time has elapsed, they must return with the prey. The winner will be the one who defeats the strongest monster. If a participant returns empty-handed, he will be disqualified. So, she announced the start of the duel. Lista said that the commentator Lista is here. She will voice everything she sees to them. Noah got angry. Did he ask for this? But she has already started commentating. The Knight Commander, Lady Teta, is rushing ahead of them. Seeing the monster, she ran forward and, climbing onto the body of the snake, ran further, shouting, she, being a knight, having no idea why the prince started the duel. But she will give it her all. She swung her sword and attacked. Lista commented, amazing. She cut the monster in half with one swing. Reza said, as expected of someone whose strength comes first. The one who should compete with Prince Noah is her. Look, the Dark Witch Reza. The mage used her maximum power, Star Strike. She created a powerful explosion. The people present were talking. Wow. Amazing. A barrier was put up to protect everyone from the blow. As expected of Mrs. Reza, the protagonist reasoned, not bad, they are holding up well, it's time for him to go. Lista commented, sir, Noah has finally set off. She sees a moving figure, they should pay attention. There's a handsome Mr. Noah. MC was angry, who let her take the commentary position? He can't do anything when there's so much attention on him. The protagonist jumped off the cliff and said, well, he'll try to go here then. Lifa looked around in fear and said, Mr. Noah is gone, she can't see anything. He raised his hand to his head and said, so, what does he want to do to show his weakness? Remember the conditions for the next defeated monster? Well, it's pretty simple. He continued, they'll hunt small stuff. A tiny slime, he chooses it. He hopes there are some in the hellish forest, somewhere at the foot. They can usually be found everywhere. He bent down to the grass and found a slime there. He picked it up and said, she should see how weak it is. Rory said in surprise, Noah, this slime is weird. It's gold. He looked at the slime in his hand and said seriously, yes, he was a swordsman. Slimes could be of absolutely different colors. Rory asked, so what is he going to do next? Apparently he is going to fight it. The protagonist answered, well, he already defeated it. Instant death magic. Why fight if you can do it all at once and without unnecessary damage? She repeated in fear instant death magic and continued, isn't that ancient shadow magic? No one in this world can use such spells. Noah asked, but in the previous world this was a mandatory subject to study, no? Well, he found the monster. What now? He said that he thinks Theta and Raza don't care about him now. There's no one here, and there are no announcements from List, so he might as well sleep. She should wake him up if anything happens. He decided to lie down more comfortably and fell asleep. Rory said, take a nap in an unknown forest, from which death smells a mile away. This guy is just something. A few hours later, waking up, the protagonist headed back. People saw him and screamed, Mr. Noah is back. Lista came up to him and screamed, Mr. Noah, she was so worried. He apologized, said that he completely lost track of time while hunting. Rory sat on his shoulder and thought, now they will ask him, and what kind of monster did he defeat? And he will answer, it was a slime. He came closer and apologized for the delay. Teta and Reza have already returned, right? Teta answered, they returned just a couple of minutes ago. She has 15 ancient dragons. Reza said that she has 5 ancient dragons. Rory wondered what kind of people were they? Cracking dragons like nuts? They are SS rank. What level of hunter are they? Saradea said, now Noah, he must show them the monster he defeated. He replied, here, Saradea. The monster he defeated is this little one. People surrounded him and looked at him in surprise. Someone asked, a slime? He replied, that's right. Only he came back with 1 slime. No doubt, he's a terrible lord. People watched and said, Mr. Noah only defeated 1 slime though. Look how shiny it is. So much time has passed and it still sparkles. Saradea said, wait, that's it? According to rumors, an insatiable king lives in an unknown forest, so it's the king of slimes. Wow, people said. Color and shine. There can be no doubt the king of slimes. A legendary monster? Ryza said, the king of monsters, although small, his price exceeds 5 ancient dragons. Teta said, really the king of gluttony was dragged in. Saradea summed it up. In the name of her family, she proclaims the winner, Prince Noah. He was surprised. Lista said, Lady Knight and Lady Mage are so strong, but so easy to defeat. Apparently, Mr. Noah is the only one worthy of ruling these lands. The villagers waved their hands and shouted, as expected of their lord. Rory said, what an obvious end. MC was surprised that he did it again. A normal day at the Carter estate. Rory said there was so much activity around Noah, but before Noah was known as a useless prince. This is the story of how they first met him. The Little Prince? The Archives. It is a place hidden in another dimension. It holds all the information of the world, starting from the very foundation of this one. Only sages blessed by the goddess can enter here, and even they cannot stay here for long. It is a place she, the white dragon Rory, has guarded from outsiders for as long as she can remember. But one day, a boy named Noah came into the archives and asked, is this a library? Do the books not get wet? A dragon appeared behind him. He saw this and said, what a cute dragon. The dragon was confused. No way. A child in the archives? Then she asked him to say a name. Who is this child? He didn't look like a sage or one blessed by the goddess. She was surprised. Was this an intrusion? Then she stood up and declared that she had to destroy the intruder. Such was the mission of the demons who guarded the forbidden archives. Then she opened her mouth and released a stream of powerful energy, destroying everything in its path. She was a demon called Rory, one of the 7 created by the goddess. Her ability was instant regeneration, all thanks to the rapid growth of cells, allowing her body to remain intact. The protagonist waved his hands and declared that dust had gotten into his mouth. Rory was surprised. It was impossible. Her magic had not left a trace on him. How had this kid survived her blow without getting a scratch? Noah sat and thought, what a strange magic, similar to the power of destruction and creation at the same time. He activated a stream of powerful energy with a wave of his hand and said, something like that? He looked at the dragon and continued, if you think about it, it even looks boring. The dragon was angry. Who was he? The protagonist answered when she asks a person for a name, shouldn't she introduce herself first? His grandmother used to say so. The dragon asked, isn't he afraid of her? He said that he had just been able to repeat her magic. Does she think he has anything to be afraid of? Rory answered, that was certainly true, but until she became the guardian of the archives, she lived like a god. People were afraid of her, revered her, and were wary of her. Such were people then, so seeing such a kid was new to her. Her name is Rory. She is a demon who protects this place. MC said his name is Noah, the 7th prince. She asked how he got here. The protagonist answered, completely by accident. He was wandering around the castle when suddenly he saw a spatial rift. He decided to explore it and got here. Rory was surprised and said, he got into a spatial rift? She thought that since the guy went through the rift, he might be from another world, and in general, he could die in this one. Noah went to the books and said how many rare books there are. Rory screamed at him not to touch the books with his dirty hands. A little idiot. Then she thought that the meaning of her existence is to guard these books. The dragon flew up and prepared to attack. Screamed like a demon protecting this place. She will destroy this man. She opened her mouth and directed a huge stream of energy at him. He tried to escape, jumping over the shelves, but the energy caught up with him and spun him around, imprisoning him in a ball. He screamed, be careful. She herself won't be able to damage these beloved books? Rory answered, the books are protected by her magic. Instead of worrying about it, he should think about him. MC answered, okay, they are protected then. He wanted to try something. He spread his arms and freed himself and rose into the air, released several powerful fire projectiles from his hands, but they flew off the shelves. Rory was surprised at what was happening and said, the protective magic of the archives. He thoughtfully said, books are not so easy to damage. Okay, they will end this. She circled around him in rage. The protagonist, pointing his finger at Rory, said that he did not really care what kind of book demon she was, just let her not interfere with his quiet life. A lot of magic circles appeared and Noah shouted, seal. She screamed, what is this? He is an idiot. What did he do? Why is she in such a small body? He replied that he sealed her power. Rory exploded. Such a kid just went and sealed the powers of a high-ranking demon? Who the hell is he? He answered in a calm voice, didn't he say? He is Noah, the 7th prince. Later, the protagonist came to the archives again. Rory said, he came again. It is a place where outsiders are forbidden to come. He answered, but if he has been somewhere once, he can easily return there with the help of teleportation magic. She said, but such magic is of a high rank. He asked, is it? Then he took one of the books, sat down to read it and said, amazing, this thing called manga is so interesting. Really? Rory said, In the archives, there are books from completely different realities. They even have doujinshi. She exhaled and said that she was worried that he would read forbidden books, but he came to read manga and relax. And he has taste. The protagonist called her and asked if she had anything to recommend. She showed him the books and said that this one was good, and this one and all of them. He said that he would take this one then. Then they said goodbye. And she, crossing her palms, thought, he will come here again. Such a formal speech is not like her last one. Once he brought a ruined book. Rory screamed that he ruined all the manga. Didn't they tell him that you can't eat with books in your hands? He said that it was his fault and, asking for forgiveness, said that he had smeared it and didn't notice. Then he used magic, cleaned it, and said, look, it's as good as new. They sat next to each other and read the books. Tears were running down his cheeks, and he said, this manga is so touching. She asked, is it true? And she continued that she liked it too. She recommends another book by the same author. He said, seriously, Rory, she has good taste. Suddenly they started arguing. He screamed that she was an idiot, doesn't understand anything. She yelled back that he was an idiot. MC continued, this book is the best by this author. She was indignant, his taste is terrible. He held out the books and said that she says, here are his top 3 manga. She agreed, okay, there is something to it. He told her to show her books. She took out 3 books and said, here. She was happy with the victory and asked him to say if the manga she picked was better. He answered, stupid, his are no worse. Then he said that it was time for him to go home and asked, is something wrong? Rory asked, can't he stay longer? Noah answered, even if she asked if he is late, the big sister Messi will start counting the minutes. He does not want to make them all worry. She answered, I understand. Suddenly he asked if she wants to get out of here and offered to leave together. She answered that it is impossible because she is the guardian of this place. He continued, but there was no magic keeping her here. Was there? No one could get in here except him. He could use magic as an alarm. Noah said that she should agree that there was no point in protecting the archives alone. The world outside the archives, she was afraid of it. Before she became the guardian of this place, she lived in the outside world. She was a being revered by people. But this reverence quickly turned into universal hostility. She became everyone's enemy. Rory tried to escape, but people still scared her with how quickly they could hate anything. So she became the guardian of the archives. There was no need to be afraid anymore. She found peace here. She thought that she would never leave this place again. Because if she stayed, people would no longer reject her. Noah asked, so what? She got angry and screamed at him to shut up. Don't let him pretend to be someone unknown. He is only a man. She's a demon, the strongest of those created by the goddess. A man like him can't understand her. Rory screamed that she hated him, that he should get out of here and never come back. Then she thought that it was a lie, that she didn't mean to say it, that it was wrong, that she just wanted to. He turned and walked away. Rory was sorry. It was a mistake. She knew it, but why her? After that, no one came to the archives anymore. She kept sitting and waiting. Suddenly a noise was heard from the depths of the archives. She ran and screamed, Noah? He came back here. She needed to apologize for what happened, and she would agree to leave this place if she was with him, she was sure. She went out and saw the monster. He took a book in his tentacles and said, here's the archive. Then he raised his tentacles up and said, great, archives containing all the information of the world. Finally, all this knowledge is now in his hands. She asked, who is he? How did he get here? The monster turned to her and asked, so she is the local guardian? She didn't even know that the barrier on the ground was weakened. And then she remembered, that's right. After all, her powers were sealed by Noah. The monster continued, does she think she can protect the archives like this? She menacingly replied to him to move away from the books. He is a lowly spawn. He replied to her to move, a useless guardian, and grabbed her hands with his tentacles, lifting her up. Rory screamed at him to let go. The monster walked up to the shelf and told her to shut up and watch quietly as he absorbed all the knowledge in the world. Rory thought, if only she wasn't sealed, and from above, she screamed at him not to touch that book. The monster picked up the book with his tentacles and asked, is that manga? He scattered the books and continued that such things are not hidden knowledge. Manga in a place where all the works of the world are collected? Only fools read that, and that's not what he was looking for. Grimoires about overcoming your own limits. Magic that can subjugate entire countries. Such books. And not this tasteless reading that belongs on the ground, not on a shelf. Rory objected, saying that it is not like that, trying to break free. He asked, did she say something? She replied, manga are the best books for relaxing and unwinding. All those long days in the archives, it wasn't the forbidden books and grimoires that calmed her down, it was the mangas and novels. That's what connected her to him. She got angry and screamed at him to stop talking about manga like that. She wanted him to apologize to the authors too. The monster raised its tentacles up, swirled them around and screamed that it would be better to kill her. It wrapped its tentacles around her entire body. She called for Noah to save her. The monster tightened its grip on her body and screamed for her to die. Then Noah suddenly appeared, attacked the monster and screamed for it to die. The monster asked in surprise how he was able to get into the archives. MC answered, teleportation magic. The monster was surprised. Teleportation? He doesn't know such magic. Noah caught Rory in his arms and asked if she was okay. He put her down on the ground and she said he came to save her. He answered, save her? It was just a coincidence. He just decided to take a break from reading manga. That's why he hadn't come here for a while. Manga were the best books after all. The protagonist asked what happened. She jumped on him, shouted Noah, and started crying. Through her tears, she said that because he disappeared so suddenly, she thought he would never come back. She thought she would never see him again. He replied that she shouldn't worry. The reason he couldn't come was because he was traveling with his family and didn't really have a choice. She asked, traveling? He explained that he wanted to refuse and continue reading here, but he was told he had no choice. The protagonist took out a beautiful ribbon and told her to look. Rory, he thought it would suit her, so he bought it. She was surprised. Was it a gift? He thanked her for protecting manga. She jumped on him again and said that she would go with him. He said okay. He would set up a barrier to make sure that no intruders came here, and if any intruders came here, he would sense it, so there shouldn't be any problems. She asked again if it was okay that she should go with him. He said that Rory had recommended him so many good manga, and he hadn't paid her back for it yet, so in exchange for her recommendations, he would show her a lot of interesting things too. She agreed and said that she thought she would learn a lot with him. And just like that, the demon guardian of the archives became the assistant of a talentless prince. She threw open the doors and screamed, Mr. Noah! They have found a precious mine in their territory. He got angry and said, what the hell? He didn't even do anything this time? Lista said that the last time he threw a fireball at the volcanic turtle, it hit the blood bear's den. He continued, what the hell? Is this some kind of butterfly effect? Rory said he's still such a fool. I wish he'd show her more interesting things so they could reminisce about the past. During the intro, she and Noah, after defeating a volcanic turtle with a fire blast, accidentally destroyed a blood bear's nest and discovered some expensive ore. She said, deep down, where no one would have thought to go. They found a huge mithril vein. He yelled that he didn't do anything this time. Rory asked if mithril was rare. If they sold it, they could become a very rich territory. He asked, seriously? Sebastian said he heard what was going on. They should take advantage of it. There have been a lot of new residents in the city lately. With them, all their supplies are quickly running out. The protagonist asked why people go to such a remote place. Sebastian replied, Prince Noah's followers flock here from all over the world after it became known that he was here. By the way, Lista is calling people. Even on weekends, she will do everything to let everyone know how wonderful Mr. Noah is. MC shouted, horror. Now in the ranking of the most desirable places to live, the Carter lands are in first place, and the vein will solve their main problem? Sebastian, stretching out his hand forward, shouted, it was the townspeople who found the ore, not him, which means it is not his merit. The protagonist said, but that's how it was? Only he understands him. Sebastian said, well, if he were in his place, he would keep quiet about the mithril vein. Rory was surprised. Why keep it a secret? Saradea is the daughter of the Minister of Finance. If she has a hand in selling the ore, the price of it will skyrocket. Rory asked, isn't it wonderful if it is already terribly expensive? The protagonist answered, such horror for his image of a fool. She continued that it wouldn't work to hide it forever. He understands, right? He said that this vein needs to be removed from here immediately. The protagonist thought that this person is the only one who will support him, and called Sebastian. He came and said, at his service. MC asked him to call a merchant who is absolutely not trustworthy to him. A few days later, Noah was riding in a carriage through the city and thought, I think he's here. He looked out the window and said, for some reason, Carter's holding is attracting too much attention. Rory said that it was his fault. Noah said, in the end, they even found a mithril vein here. This merchant simply must have cheated them on the sale of ore. He thought, if some evil merchant outsmarted him, his reputation would fall to the bottom. He was used, left with a bare ass. He would definitely earn the status of a clueless lord. Rory said, yes, if such an insolent merchant could exist. He answered, that's why he asked Sebastian to call the one with the worst reputation. A bad reputation does not come from an honest approach to business, right? And now he will appear before him. He is 100% sure of him. Rory said he did not even see him. Then Sebastian came in and said that he brought the one he asked for. Noah asked what he meant. Sebastian warned, a very specific appearance. He must be careful. He saw an incomprehensible creature of small stature completely covered with a cloak. A voice was heard, nice to meet him. His name is Sabrina Ikiguya, and he threw off his cloak. Noah shouted in surprise, a goblin? Sebastian said that he had studied the reputation of many merchants in the country, and he was the closest to what Mr. Noah asked him to find. He answered, not bad. Rory wondered why a monster works as a merchant. Noah said that he was hired, and asked again, Ikiguya, huh? He asked him to cooperate with him. Then he thought, he has such a name, he does not know why, but it sounds just incredibly villainous. Rory sat on the protagonist's shoulder and whispered in his ear to wait. Noah, but it's a goblin. He replied that she is a dragon, so what? Appearance is not important. What matters is how incorruptible a merchant he is. Akiguya suddenly cried and he asked what happened to him. He replied, since he became like this is the first time he hears such words. He's so happy. Rory was surprised. Has he become like this? The protagonist answered with a satisfied voice. I see. It must be incredibly difficult. He continued that he would try his best for such a kind person. Noah said that he hoped for him and for his failure. Then he remembered something. He handed him a cross and said that he was giving it to him as a token of their friendship. Rory snorted. What did he just give him? Not that she minded. He replied, some kind of exorcism thing. He didn't want anything to happen while Echiguya was here. If some traveler killed him, all his plans would go down the drain. Rory looked at the gift and thought, the thing Noah gave him looked like a holy relic. Later, Noah, seeing a huge mountain of gold in the yard, screamed, what kind of absurdly huge mountain of gold is this? After this, the world economy will go to hell. Sebastian said, this is the money that Echiguya brought them. Selling the mithril vein was a great success for them. He got angry and shouted, what is he talking about? Call Echiguya. The butler turned around and was surprised to see a guy next to him and said, Echiguya is already here. The guy introduced himself. Noah shouted, who? Rory shouted, has he changed so much? Echiguya replied, it is true. He was a little late in explaining and continued. After he put on the necklace that Master Noah gave him, he returned to the appearance he had before he was cursed, and thanked Noah. He put his hand to his mouth and shouted, so he was cursed? He continued to tell, it is a very shameful story, but the other merchants tricked him, and then he was cursed to be a goblin. With such an appearance, no one wanted to deal with him, so he sank to the level of an ordinary money changer. But Mr. Noah didn't pay attention to it and still agreed to work with him. Such a wonderful person. And also removed that nasty curse from him. Now that he looks normal, he was able to return to the Genu Guild and withdraw his money. So from now on, he will continue to work for the Carter estate. Sebastian asked again, the Genu Guild? The protagonist asked, what did he know about it, Sebastian? The butler continued, the richest trading guild in the world. He heard that one of its members had gone missing. But who knew that Mr. Sabarin was the missing merchant? The protagonist raised his hands to his head and shouted, Sebastian, why did he bring him of all people? Isn't he his friend? The butler said, this could have been the mistake of the century. This is great luck. Well, Lista said, what a huge heart Mr. Noah had. He was able to remove the curse from Mr. Echiguya. This story should be passed down from generation to generation. Gather people to spread the word. MC shouted, what is she saying? Theta said, what incredible kindness. Their leader is so generous. Reza added, a journey from darkness to light. She would get involved in something like that. He yelled that he didn't want to own these lands anymore. Sardea thought that her help wasn't even needed. Deep in the forest of death, the domain of the demon king Karanostia, the demon took the newspaper in his hands, read it, and said, a new hero, Noah Carter. He knelt down in front of Mrs. Mao and asked if they should get rid of him. At night, Rory was walking through the castle, carrying a fish in her mouth. Seeing a light in the window, she was surprised. Why was the light on at such an hour? She stopped and listened. Voices were coming from there. Had Mr. Noah already gone to bed? An answer was heard. It seemed he had gone to bed. I see. And she announced the beginning of a meeting of those deciding how to support Noah. Rory was scared. This was a gathering of fanatics. Let's praise the name of Prince Noah together. Tata continued. As they know, Mr. Noah has not left his room for the past few days. It's been a week already. What is he doing there? Rory confirmed that such a thing existed and remembered how he said that he didn't want to do anything anymore. Every time he did something, something incredible happened, so he would just stop. Riza said how stupid it was to think that they could understand what her beloved Noah was thinking. Teta replied, what did she say, Riza? She says that she can find out what Mr. Noah was thinking. She answered, of course, she's a dark mage. She can't help but know. After all, she is his shadow. Saradea said that the only one who understands what he is thinking is her, and this is the future of their land. They were surprised by her words. Rory said, yes, he does not think at all. Not even a little bit. Lista asked, Lady Saradea, what does she mean by the future? She answered, Lista, the Carter lands have many problems. As they know, this territory is on the border with the Forest of Death, which is quite dangerous. Moreover, on the other side of the forest is the domain of the demons of Karanostia. They have kept their territory in fear for many years. As long as the Demon King is alive, the Carter lands will not be easy. It can be assumed that Lord Noah is now actively thinking about how to deal with this. Tata shouted, I see. So that's what he's doing. In other words, Lord Noah is planning to destroy the Demon King. Saradea answered, that's right. They began to say how good Lord Noah is. Rory thought how different people thought, but they didn't even know about the Demon King of this era. Tata asked, but why did Mr. Noah lock himself in the room? With his strength, there is no chance that he will lose to the Demon King. Saradea said, "That's right. Noah is blessed by the heavens, but he has no motive to invade the demon lands. That's why." Lista screamed. "She knows," they asked. "Is that true, Lista?" She continued, "If Mr. Noah goes there alone, the Carter domain will be left defenseless." They screamed, "That's right," Saradea said, "and although he needs to defeat the Demon King to protect this land, he will have to leave their territory to do so. Problem. Teda slammed her fist on the table, and they said that they are disappointing them. They are here to be the prince's knights. How dare Noah think of them as a burden? Teda and the knights will protect this land. The mages and Reza will not be left out. Turning to each other, they started shouting. Teda shouting that she would be the one to help Lord Noah, and Reza shouting that the mages belong to the prince. Rory thought, the idiot witch and the stupid knight were arguing again. Saradea said, "I see, so that's what he was really thinking." Teda and Reza fell silent and looked around in surprise. She continued, "Lord Noah is waiting, so the people of this land will worry less. He is using their rivalry. He is making the townspeople stronger to protect the territory." Saradea shouted, "Waiting. That is his way. And then he will set out on a campaign to destroy the Demon King. But before that." So with their collective mind, they understood what Lord Noah was thinking, the balance between the mind and the heart. That is why he is the Lord of the Shadows. So they need to get stronger. Huh? She will work hard. Rory exploded. Are there only idiots here? Teda said to think things through as far as expected of Mr. Noah. Reza said she would lay down her life to serve Noah. Lista said she would do everything she could for the people here. Saradea said all she had for Noah was love and respect. They linked hands. Rory was amazed. This was crazy, and hurried away, thinking that she should tell Noah. Rory knocked on his door and screamed, "Noah, the people are unruly." She asked him to do something about it. He screamed back that he was a recluse from now on. For her to never come here again. She was too loud. He decided to do nothing. Rory was angry, shaking her hands and screaming, "Oh my God. She doesn't care what happens next, okay?" A few days later, Noah and Rory were walking and saw the Demon King kneeling in front of them, and she was crying. What the hell was going on here? Wondered why the hell the Demon Queen was bowing to him, and crying too. A few hours ago, the domain of the Demon King Karanostia. The advisor said, "Let me report, Your Majesty, that the new Lord of the Carter lands, Noah Carter, has a knightly order commander and a supreme mage under his command. Moreover, they recently discovered an ore deposit and were able to make a huge amount of money, so much so that the Lord did not know what to do with it. The spies sent by the previous king were discovered and injured so much that they are unable to carry out any more missions, so he dares to suggest that the new Lord Noah plans to enslave the demon lands." She replied, "I see. So what should she do? So scared, their country will be destroyed." The advisor replied, "Lady Mao, he asks her to calm down. The Demon King is her father. Please, she must pull herself together. Her father left them a long time ago." She said that she is right. She is the queen now, but no one listens to what she says. Yes, that is true. After all, she is a half-breed, the child of a demon and a human. Her father left her the throne before his death, but the demons did not accept her. They began to ignore her orders. Her every action is watched. If she were a pureblood, would they listen to her, unite under her command? He answered, "She is not the only one suffering. Her Majesty, in the demon world she is not the only one. If they can find demons who will follow them, their children will become her followers." She said, "But there are none." The advisor continued, "It is the same for weak demons. They die under the pressure of the strong." She continued, "What will happen if she challenges Noah?" He said that she will definitely die. Mal was afraid and screamed that she is scared and does not want to die. She does not want anyone to be harmed, and she does not want to get hurt. She still has so much to do. If nothing is done, many demons may die. And if they die, she will be guilty before her father. Then she will exchange her life for the future of the demon people. It is the least she can give. Even though she is now a queen, but for such a young girl to sacrifice herself, how cruel this world is. The advisor said, "She has grown strong, Her Majesty." She went to the edge to jump, and the servant asked for someone to save her. Currently, MC screamed, "Why is the Demon King kneeling in front of him now? And who let this girl in cosplay into his office?" "Servants." Urgently. She asked him to stop preparing for an attack on the Demon Kingdom. She asked, "The demons do not want to fight." The protagonist was surprised. An attack on the Monster Kingdom? What is she talking about? What brought her here anyway? If she wants to joke, then maybe she should choose another place. She replied, "In such a situation it is natural to play the fool. After all, he probably keeps it a secret. Humans and demons have been fighting each other for years. It is not surprising that he is going to oppose them." The protagonist asked, "How so?" She said, "So she gives him her life, and he can do with it whatever he wants. And so she asks him not to drag the demons into a war." He continued in surprise. What was she talking about? It didn't seem like she was joking. This cosplayer wasn't even listening to them. He felt sorry for her. She continued crying. All she wanted was peace. He turned to her side and held out his hand. She covered her face with her hands in fear. He came closer, stroked her head and said that he did too, and he didn't want a child's life. She was surprised. What? He replied that he already said that everything was fine. He didn't know what it was like to be the queen of demons, but he still forgave her, and since no one objected, they would all live in peace. He promised that he would protect her world too. He held out his hand and asked, "Is that a deal?" She asked, "Is that true? Not only will he not attack, but he will also take the powerless demons under his wing?" Rory said that he said something he shouldn't have again. Mo kept crying and said that Mr. Noah was such a kind person. He said, "Hey, she should wait. Protect the demons?" He didn't mean that. Suddenly, Lista appeared and said as expected from Mr. Noah. Not only did he listen to the Demon Queen's request, he also offered them his protection. MC got angry. It happened again. "Rory, she should say something. This child is the Demon Queen. Her power shows it." He told her to say something better. Mo came closer and thanked him. Rory said, "It seems like there is a new addition to the Noah worship cult." He angrily replied, "What is she talking about?" What this time? An advisor came to them, bowed and said, "Your Majesty." The protagonist asked who it was. She said her advisor. He asked him to forgive him. He couldn't stop them. She asked in surprise, "What happened?" He continued, "Rumors have spread that Her Majesty has surrendered to the humans, and to bring her back, they are going to destroy the Carterlands." She shouted, "What?"